Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Sherranda Ivey here in Byron, Georgia. I am been with Legal Shield now. This is our ninth year with Legal Shield. I am a 50K ring earner, Emerald Elite Associate. Um, let me see. We've earned a production award and Field Trainer of the Year for 2021 and 2019. And the Ladies of Justice lady came in the other day, Saturday. So we got her in the mail the other day. And we, I don't know if I said I'm CDLP trainer here and of course field trainer. And we are business solutions trainer and just chose this as my major and my minor with small biz and just my niche market to be CDL. So just enjoy working with you guys. I do host the accountability call on Thursday nights. And so we're building that mastermind there with those. No, I don't know who have a birthday today. And so those individuals are really doing some phenomenal things. And so with that number, I pass it back over to you. You muted, Dunbar.
Yeah, I was trying to, I got so many windows on. I was trying to find the window where I was muted at. All right. So Robert Dunbar here real quickly. Been with Legal Shield 13 years, training on the networking side for 6 to 7 years, on the business solution side for 4 or 5 years. I love the company. I've worked all areas. It's not a part of Legal Shield I haven't done, except Ladies of Justice, of course. But I've been in everything else with Legal Shield. Worked the insurance agent side, the networking side, the group side, the CDLP side, just kind of did it all, explore all areas of Legal Shield. Our last stop has been CDL, simply because we feel like it's a more niche market. I feel like the product does more to protect, because the people who are getting hit with the citations and violations, a lot of the times, not every time, a lot of the times are being kind of harassed, meaning that they're being stopped and pulled over and bothered for particularly no reason. So we like to make sure that they've got something to protect them, because the people in this industry, they do a lot for everybody, but they don't have a lot of protection. CDO drivers don't have a lot of protection, and they don't have as many chances as you and I do. So if something was to happen to them, if they get pulled over and they get citation violations, they get hit pretty heavily, they could lose their license, they can get it suspended. And if your license gets suspended, you can still go to work. If theirs is, they can. So it's good for them to at least have their day in court. So it's not that they're always right, but if they are right, we want to make sure that they've got a qualified attorney in the courtroom to make sure that they have the proper representation when it happens. So we can do that here on this side. Plus, this really does open the door for you to sell other kinds of memberships that we offer. And Sherranda's going to talk about that today when I talk to her about her awards that she received and how she did certain things to get them. So we'll be talking a little bit about how she markets other plans and what her approach is and all that stuff. So if you are new to this call, if you've never taken the CDLP training, you just took it the first time this past weekend, and this is all new to you, you're going to hear some different things on this than you heard on the training. You're definitely going to hear a different approach when I talk to Sherranda about her approach than you probably heard on this last week's call or training or any training, because her approach is definitely different, but it obviously works because she's got 2 LOJ awards. She's been Field Trainer of the Year more than once. She has done a good job of not only building her own business, but helping other people build their business. And she's doing it in different areas of Legal Shield. So we know that it's not something that's just happenstance, right? You know how you see somebody have success and sometimes by mistake, or something just happened a certain way and they happen to, right, be in the right place at the right time to gain something. But we're talking somebody who's got 2 LOJ awards. We're talking about somebody who is earning awards in different areas, which means she's balancing how she's working the business. And that's important when you're a business owner, is to understand balance and understand how to be in more than one place at one time. So you got to be a magician to be a business owner. So we're going to talk a little bit to Sherranda about that as well. So seeing that it's just me and you, I'm going to be asking you all the questions. Just me and you. No Sherranda, no Jai. None of the other trainers have jumped on it. If they do jump in, I'll let them in. Pull them in back here with us, but I don't see any right now. So it's just us. We just gonna kick it. So everybody get ready to take some notes because this is always a learning experience. If you're wanting to know, if you're wondering how to approach, if you're wondering how to close, if you're wondering what areas of legal you should be doing and what you should be selling them other than just a commercial driver's legal plan, you should be taking notes. These are all things that we're going to talk about. So you guys better get ready. So I'm going to try to keep this kind of structured, Sherranda, in a way that one, I want to talk about with you how and why you made a decision, because this is important. I would hope for other people, but it's important for me too. And obviously it's important for you because you did it. You mentioned last week that you got an award like 3rd or 8th or something like that. And you can correct me when you respond on individual sales, meaning that not attached to a group, just sold memberships to individuals. So you got an award for that. Plus you got an award for being one of the top group openers, which is 2 different areas of leadership. So she opened up a lot of groups and sold a lot of plans that didn't have anything to do with the group. So that you guys understand that, like, you did both. So tell me how you did that balance. Like, tell me how and why you balanced that out that way.
Okay, so I mean, so I was shocked when I got an email from LOJ, honestly. I had to ask the VP, like, what does that mean? Because they had a virtual event, you show up, you get the recognition, and then at convention, they give you an award. And just FYI for a Driver's Club for LOJ, they'll be on the big stage next year. So with all the achievement awards and things like that, it'll be a division of LOJ. So for those people that are focused on that, you definitely get recognition. And that's not just the girls. So there's a lot of guys get recognized in that as well, because they have their own incentives. So for me, that's really why I do it, Dunbar. I like recognition. I'm just saying. I mean, I work hard, so I want to get recognized. So, but for me, all of my, what I call direct business, meaning networkers call their business. I don't say network, I say direct business outside a group goes on my LOJ site. And I do that because of recognition, meaning they have some pretty swag, they get little gifts, things. And so I always put myself in that position. I've never received anything outside of the pen until I got the email that I was number 4 in production for LOJ. So I get a lot of referrals, and with those referrals, they're not always business owners. They might just be a driver, or they might just be an individual, just need a personal plan or something like that. So all that business goes on my website, and I use my LOJ website. And so that lets you know how much business I did on the direct side outside of group. Because I'm big on referrals, I built my business. I'll say I built my business off referrals and cold calls. So I just rather talk to strangers. And
Okay.
referrals are hot leads. So yeah, so that's how I did that.
So your drive, hold on, your drive, your motivation, one of your driving motivation is that you like recognition. So for those on here, a good tip for you, drive and motivation, you need to figure out what drives you, need to find out what motivates you. And for the most part, there's always a few people who really, 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 truly believe it's money. But for most of y'all guys, it's not money. You have to really identify what your driver is, because we have a habit of shortcutting ourselves by saying that I need some money. The question is, what do you need the money for? That's really your driving and motivation. You're doing something to create money to do something with the money that you plan on doing. Money is just a means to do whatever that thing is, but you really have another drive and motivation. And I want you to look at that drive and motivation, because if you focus on that thing, not the money, it'll push you a little bit harder than the money will, because money is a general motivator and it's not really going to get down to really what the real serious deal is. So I would really encourage everybody on here who have not, and this should be everybody, right, including myself, anybody who has not reached the goals that they said that they were going to reach. It's 2022. You said in the beginning of the year or at the end of last year, I'm going to do this by this date. Are you on the way to that goal? If you're not on the way to that goal, I would ask you to check your motivation, right? Check your drive and find out, are you doing it for the right reason? Right? Are you doing it for the right reason? And you have to really dig deep. So for those of you all that are saying like, hey, I want to win the trip, right? Nobody's kicking down doors to go to Hawaii. There's another reason. There's another reason, right? So some of you are saying you want to go to Hawaii, you want to go to Maui, but really it's the recognition. You want to cross the stage and be considered a winner. Some people want to win. And winning that trip means that you get recognized for winning. So it's really not the trip to Maui that you're running for. You're really running for the celebration, for people to say that you did a specific thing and you won something. So make sure you really truly identify the real motivation and the drive, right? Not the camouflage thing, because most of us can afford to go to Maui. You're not running that hard for Maui, because you can go to Maui for about $1,500. So really, it's not that. It's really the question of, do I want this recognition? Do I want to cross the stage? Do I want this entire company full of people to know that I did enough work to win this trip? I want to be one of the selected few. Is that your driving and motivation? Because if that is, then you need to focus on that, not on it being your trip. Does that make sense? So that's one thing. So drive motivation, that's why she did it. And she did a lot. She did her balance, which means she worked different areas of the business. So you can do more than one thing in Legal Shield if you balance it. You can focus in more than one area. You can win more than one award at one time. So let's move on to, as an award winner, I know that you have a different approach. And most of the time we say, we just assume here in Legal Shield on the CDLP side, hey, I'm going into a trucking company. I'm going to use the Lamar Reynolds script, or I'm going to approach this trucking company about opening up a group. So I'm looking for the decision maker to open up a group for the CDL drivers. But that's not your approach. That's not your approach at all. And it's also, people also assume that we're going after, right, a decent sized trucking company, because our brain tells us, well, if I'm opening up a group, it should be a lot of people, because if I can sell membership to a lot of people, I can make a lot of money. Right? Those are all dangerous assumptions. So let's go with the reality of it. One, you don't approach with the, I'm going to sell you, will open up a group in your company. And two, you don't go after, like when I say decent size, I mean a couple of hundred trucks. That's not what you're going after. So let us know, one, what size companies that you're going after. And two, what is your approach when you pick up the phone and call or walk in, whichever one you choose to do.
So I will say this. I mean, we all, like you said, we all get started, and we always think we need a big company. We feel like we get a big company, we gonna get that ring, we gonna hit ED or whatever that big goal is to you. Everybody thinks that when we get started and we start to focus on groups and things like that. We call it the big fish. What I found is that you got to grow to that. Okay, because just imagine today if you called on a big company, truly, what would you say? I mean, if the company was big enough to have a VP, human resource, and if they had all those divisions, now you got to find out who is the true decision maker. When we learned that we're looking for like the safety manager, right? We're looking for the owner. So by the time I chose my niche market, which was CDL, all those thoughts were out of my mind. I had went through that phase. So I knew that I wasn't looking for the big fish, but I still may have looked at a company that maybe had 50 or I'll say 50 to 100 drivers in it, but that's still big for me. Where I find my strength is that talking to the smaller companies. So whether it was that guy that was by himself and he owned his company, or maybe up to about 10 drivers. That's really my sweet spot. And maybe, now that I'm more seasoned and more skilled, definitely bigger is okay, but still I don't prospect. When I'm looking at companies, I definitely start with the onesie twosies. Those are easy close for me. That's like low hanging fruit. And then the closer as I go to 10 and on up, as long as I can get to the owner, that's still my ideal client. If I got to talk to a safety guy or somebody, it's not bad for me, but I prefer to talk to the owner. So the smaller I stay, the most likely I'm going to talk to the owner. So Dunbar, that's my sweet spot. 1 to I'll say 1 to about 15. I know I'm going to get to the owner. And my approach on that is, since I'm going to talk to the owner, my deal is with group. Like I say, by the time I got to CDL, I had did all types of groups, and I had approached all types of groups. And so what I found is that, with my approach, if I can sell the owner, who is the person who's in charge, the person who's writing the checks for the bills, if I can have a conversation with that person, I probably could get the decision made quicker, because that person is the one who is dealing with spending their own money. If it's not your money, it's easy for you to say we're not interested, because you're going to get a check regardless. But if you talk to the owner and find out why, how much insurance he paying, how much he paying out in fines, how much money he paying out versus things he feel like could be avoided or something like that. If I talk to him and can show him options to save money, he's the one to make that decision quicker than the safety person. So that's why I prefer to talk to the owner. And so my approach with him is, I want to talk to him about the fines and DOT violations. I do want to talk to him about that. But depending on how bad they are, most time I don't leave with them. I don't care if they are bad. I want to talk to him. I want to know what is bothering him, what keeps him up at night. And it could be a lot of different things besides those violations. So whatever he tells me, that's what I'm going to focus on, because if I can help him solve that problem, now I built a relationship with him, and whatever I was initially looking to help him do, which is we probably are looking to with the violations, eventually we'll get to that. So I go in to help to find out what the problem is at that moment and see, can I be a resource for that?
Okay, good. And that was a lot. So I hope you guys took down notes, and some of y'all video and I can see y'all not taking down notes. So I'll be asking them questions later on about what to do. So Sherranda goes in with a different approach. So just make sure that you let that sink in, because it's a conversation. And sales is always the conversation. I remember, for those who follow Melissa Wilder at all, I remember hearing from her years ago, and this is probably 10 years ago. when I first got into business solution sale. I heard her say one day, a conversation is two people, a con is one. And what we don't realize is that when you can't talk at people to make a sale. And a lot of times we just try to kind of roughhouse the sale, like you call a person and you kind of, this is what you need, this is what I have to offer, this is what your situation is, especially if you pull a safety scores and you like, hey, you having problems with this and we can help with this. And if we get you signed up, and that's talking at somebody, that's not having a conversation with them. It's always good to engage with the person and talk back and forth, right? The sale will come in the process of all that, but sometimes we trying to push the sale. So it's really good hearing Sherranda talk about calling, because you're calling to help. When you call to help somebody, it's a conversation. It's a conversation. And with CDL and the CDL space, it has to be a conversation where you're talking to a person and engaging with them and building relationships. So I put out there, I don't know, maybe a month ago, CDLP sales relationship building PDF. So for most of you guys received that via email or on this. If you don't have it, let me know. But that will talk to you about things you can do to build a relationship with a CDL driver. So just keep those things in mind, what that approach is, going the size companies that she's going after. Sometimes it's better to go after smaller companies. I can't remember who I was speaking to last week, and I don't even know whether it was a one-on-one conversation or some kind of training setup. But somebody mentioned to me that they opened up a CDL group last week, and they were like, I'm glad I opened up a small group because I got a bunch of calls coming in. If this was a big group, I wouldn't even know how to handle this. And we've been saying that for the longest. Like CDL is not the same thing as the other side. If you open up a regular company that's got 300 employees and 100 of them pick the membership up when you enroll, you're probably going to get a couple of calls, and they're really going to be just general queries. They're not even going to be about them having a concern for the lawyer. It's going to be about Legal Shield, maybe, right? How does the will part work? And where do I get the app from? How do I use a discount? You're going to get general questions, and you're going to get probably maybe up to maybe 5 to 10 calls on a regular group. You write 100 truck drivers up, you better have some help. Because I promise you, they're going to be calling you about stuff. So it's important to start smaller so that you learn how to really help these drivers individually. So as your business grows, you go through a process when you're doing that. So I hope you were able to take that out of also out of what Sherranda was saying. So there's always a person that's asking Sherranda, what do I say when I go on the front door, right? There's always a person saying, well, what if I do networking and I do CDLP? What if I do CDLP and I do regular group? What if I want to sell an identity theft plan, right? They have the balance questions. And then there's the person that, right, and these are the people who are going to make all the excuses, right? They're going to give you 1,000 reasons of why they can't do it, right? Oh, I know it can be done, but I can't do it because I have this. So you've got a situation in your world where family mother situation with your mom, where yes, you're running a business and you don't have a full-time job. You do Legal Shield full-time, but you have a family and you have a mom that you're a caregiver for. So for those who really know what a caregiver is, not the definition of a caregiver, but really know what a caregiver is, meaning that know how difficult it is to be a caregiver for one, and secondly, how difficult it is to be a caregiver to somebody that's in your family. It's one thing to caregiver for a stranger. It's another to caregiver for a parent or a child or sister or brother or grandparent. It's a different kind of caregiving when you it's an emotional attachment. So Sherranda is a caregiver for her own mom, on top of winning all these awards and doing all this activity and earning a 50K ring and running another business on the side on top of all those other things. So for the person that's making the excuse that they're too busy, their life is too complicated, I can't go out and walk into companies because of COVID, all the stuff that we hear, right? Can we put that fire out and talk about how you've been able to work around all of these difficulties in your personal life and still get on the phone and make calls when you originally were going out and knocking on doors?
Well, when I made the decision a few years ago, I don't ever remember. It's like 2017, maybe. We became caregivers of my mom right after that. But then we won this trip to Jamaica, and we was just we were just figuring it out. So we won this trip on like a second chance thing, and But right after we got back from Jamaica, that Tuesday or Wednesday, my mom broke her hip that weekend, that Saturday. And I had just made a decision that this is what I was going to do. I was going to focus on. And before COVID, I went out and knocked on doors. So, and after she broke her hip, went through rehab and everything. So for me, guys, I've always been in performance club since month one, never fell out of performance club. Even when, my mom was in rehab, hospitals, I've just never been out of performance club. I mean, we've hit high silver executive director, but we were a strong silver on our own. But I've written ED on my own many times before. But over the years, after I made the decision, I connected with Tony Agers with the 12-week year. And when I started to learn how to set my calendar, meaning to really work from my calendar, my business started to change. After my mom broke her hip, she soon broke her ankle like the February. From that July, she broke. In February, she broke her ankle. And it was at this time when, Dunbar was in CDL. He was building this platform here. But between him and Lamar, I learned how to, work my business from home. That was my first time learning how to work my business from the phones. And if you've been on the call long enough, you know that me and the phones, we're not real good friends. We really don't hang out a lot, initially. But after COVID, we became, like tied to the hip, right? So, but what I learned is that, and we talked about this weekend, we really celebrated our success this weekend, my husband and I, with my birthday. What I learned is that we make decisions and we do what we want to do. Legal Shield is not a full-time job. I don't care if you don't do anything but Legal Shield. It is just not something you do all day, every day. And I will let most people know that last year was my best year, but I only committed to about an hour, maybe 2 hours a day on Legal Shield. Legal Shield was happening through life every day. Like I said, I built my business off referrals. Like Dunbar said, I have another business too that gave me the ability to open myself up to more referrals and just open myself up, and that helped my business. But we do life. And I'm gonna break this down to you. And most people would have made excuses. But I just know that these 9 years I've been with Legal Shield, the trips I've been on, the BMW I've earned, the money that comes in my account, I've had some big deposits these past few years. And I couldn't have did that at a job. I couldn't have did that with unemployment. I couldn't have did that. I don't know any other way I could have did it. All I know is right now is Legal Shield. But so my mom, we're caregivers for my mother. When we got back from OKC, we flew in on the 11th. We got to our house about this time on the 11th after picking up my mom from her sister. We woke up the next morning. I looked at my mom and I had to take her to the emergency room. We were in the emergency room for 13 hours. They admitted my mom to the hospital. She was in the hospital for 7 days. Between working my business, my Legal Shield business, being a mom, a wife, all that. She got discharged on the 20th, which was my birthday. My husband actually picked her up because I had to do some Zooms. So my husband picked her up from the hospital. And with less than 12 hours later, we were back at the hospital after calling 911. So my mom just came home tonight out of the hospital. I picked her up this afternoon. She came home. Most people would have stopped their whole business with Legal Shield. They wouldn't have made a phone call. They wouldn't have got on a Zoom. They wouldn't have done anything. You probably wouldn't have seen them no more till next year. for them to tell you about this incident. But this is our life. Some days we can wake up and she's fine. And honestly, we've had the best 2 years. I kept my mom safe through COVID. My mom is on oxygen 24/7. She has a lot of health issues, but she had been in the hospital since 2020. I work my business from this chair every single day. It's just what we choose to do. But I know if I do anything else, I couldn't have been at the hospital when I wanted to be here for her to take care of her. You know, I couldn't have did a lot of things. And knowing that this opportunity gives me the ability to call the shots. So if I get up one day and like I did on the 21st last Thursday, and I go downstairs and she unresponsive, what if I wasn't here? What if I was at that job? So we make excuses and we do things, and I choose not to. All those accolades I got at OKC, that was from grief. I lost my mother-in-law. So like Dunbar said, whatever drives you, you need to find that why. I mean, that drove me. It drove me to keep my mom safe because we had lost one mother, you know? So it's the choices we make. So did I always have this discipline? No, but I do know what serves me. I do know what pays me. So the little time that I have to work my business, I work it. So it's when those times when, you know, I spend 13 hours in an ER and I can't work my business because you don't have, you know, internet service or your phone don't work. You can't call a soul and you just have to sit there. That's when you think about tomorrow when you get up, before you go to the hospital, will you put in some time? So those are the things that I do. And I'm thankful for Legal Shield because I figure it out every day. So most people think it's perfect and I do it and I'm strong with it. I'm just as weak as the next person, but I know that it's either this or what. I can't go get a job, right? Nah, man, they'll fire me. Or they hired me. I wouldn't even fill out the application. That's why I said when we get bad service, I said, why you fill out the application? You filled out that application.
I was telling somebody the other day I had about 3 jobs in my life. None of them may last me 6 months. I had 3 jobs. I've been fired 3 times in less than 6 months. I can't hurt no job.
Oh yeah. Thank you for saying that, Jackie. Okay. And also, yeah. So last Thursday we had an accountability call. And so AJ or June, he probably not on here tonight, but AJ was on so AJ and I are sidelined. Our platinums are the millions. And so, you know, I shared this with our platinums on Friday when we had our senior and above call about my mom these past 2 weeks. And AJ was looking as if like, for real? And he did that because Thursday night, when I was in the ER with my mom, I hosted an accountability call. I had 2 associates to assist me, and nobody on that call knew that we were in the ER. My mom was being admitted. I got on the elevator. We went to the floor. She got admitted. I did her check-in with the nurse, all while we were on that CDLP accountability call. Nobody knew that, but maybe about 4 people that were on that call. So, you know, it's just what you're dedicated to. My deal is I want everybody to win. It wasn't the fact that I couldn't be on the call, it's just I couldn't really host it at the moment. I didn't want beeping and everything to be going on, but people were looking for us to show up. So I showed up. And so they know by the end of the call, I became engaged with the call because we had admitted her. But when we started the call, I was in the ER. They hadn't admitted her yet. And we had been there since about 11 that morning. Accountability call is at 9:30 that night. So, you know, most people wouldn't have did that. You can't expect that out of everybody. That's just who I am. So, but yeah.
And that's another level. When you get to a point to where no matter what's going on, what's important to you remains to be what's important to you. And something else that I think sometimes people who avoid life, the things in life that will propel you. Because a lot of times these things that we're talking about, we give testimonials and say, look, I did this, even though this, I did this, even though this. And what we don't realize is sometimes God puts those things in our lives because it gets us more streamlined, right? And I think me and you may have talked about this at one point in the last week or so. Sometimes people don't understand how things will come into your life. And you will think that it's like, I can't do that. I can't deal with this right now while I'm dealing with this. I can't deal with it. But what happens is an idle mind, right? When you wake up and you've got all this free time to make calls and go prospect and do all this kind of stuff, what do you end up doing? Not that.
Nothing.
Nothing. Right? Been there and done that. But then when you realize I was talking to you or somebody else, and I was telling them where my youngest child, my 15-year-old, his mom just got married, and he was supposed to be moving with me in May at the end of the school year. Well, her husband found the house and moved to Atlanta, and she was like, "Hey, I need you to get him now." So I was like, "All right, well, I ain't prepared, but this, it's my son. How do you prepare for your own child?" I'm like, just send him, go grab his stuff, and he gonna come here. He comes here every other week anyway, so he's used to being here. So he came here. Well, I got 1,000 things going. Anybody know me? Know I'm, me. I get a couple hours sleep, and I'm pretty much up doing something at any given time. And it was like I got to figure out how I'm gonna work this. I'm putting him in this new school. Got to take him to school, bring him back. He got doctor's appointment, dentist appointment, braces, all the stuff. You guys all got kids. Y'all, all the men and women with kids that live in the house with you, whether you're single or married, you know what it is. The kids are an entire lifestyle, right? That you have to make all the different changes, buy different stuff in the house for him because I eat one way, he eats another way, right? All this other stuff. And I'm like, man, I got to figure out how I'm gonna juggle all this. And all it did was make my schedule tighter. So I end up getting more done with him here because I don't let a minute go by that I'm not focused, because I know that when I'm not, right, when I'm not doing this or that, I'm doing something. So there's no wasted time, because it's like every minute has got to be I'm getting something straight with him, or I'm doing something for my regular everyday life, or I'm doing something for my business. So these things that come into our lives every day, every month, every week, every year, sometimes, guys, that is God's way. If you believe in God. Now, if you don't believe in God, now obviously you gotta cut this part out of the conversation for yourself. But if you believe in God, you gotta know that God puts things in your life to keep you on point. To keep you on point. It's not to distract you, it's to keep you on point. So some of those things, you have to welcome those things, because sometimes you got so much free time that you get nothing done. You have so much free time that you get nothing done. So, and I know most of us as adults, we've been there. So you want your schedule to be so tight that you're going from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. It's easier to stay focused when you've got one focused task to do after the next, versus an hour and 2 hours of time in between, because it's easier to lose focus. It's easier to lose focus. So I got one more question for you, Sherranda. So in the process of all this, again, everybody listening in, everybody dealing with their own personal life and what they got going on in their business, they're saying, well, I've got this situation going on. I've got that situation going on. What about this? What about that? In the process of you doing all these things, building around it, working, and all this other stuff that's happening, you have a very supportive husband. I hear you talk about him all the time, because obviously I know who he is. Tell me, because there's so many people who take the other route. It's, I know married couples and couples who live together, and it's like they can't figure it out, right? It's like, well, I can't get the help, and I can't get, and sometimes it's just, it doesn't work out. That's true sometimes. And sometimes is people don't know how to work with their spouse and build something other than just a marriage, right? So your husband has helped you, supported you with your mom like you did with his mom. The new office that you're sitting in now, he was working on that office while you was downstairs working in the common area of the house. He was working on your office so that you could build business together. So where does he come in on this? And what tips would you give? Could you give for the people on here who have a significant other that they feel like don't support like they should? What tips would you give them because you have a supportive husband and you in that space so that you can help those people out?
Well, he's always been supportive, but the business teaches us that, they got to be doing PDRs and all this stuff, and they got to be prospecting. I mean, that's just what the business teaches us. But I started the business; he didn't. It was me who saw this. I was the one that was unemployed. I brought this home to him, and so when I stopped listening to the business, meaning the people within the business, just trying to tell me how to run my household. It just got better. What we found is that, instead of me trying to pull him to Super Saturdays and things like that, because he went because he's supportive. But what we found is because when I got started with the business, our youngest son was, he was like 4, maybe. He's 13 now. So of course we needed somebody, and we live an hour and a half away from Atlanta where they host Super Saturdays and things like that. So even though we had older kids and they kept them, for us, but what I found is that my husband's place was to support the house. So my husband supports me by allowing me to do what I do, and he takes care of everything else. So I don't worry about the house. I don't really worry about my mom. If I have to do business, my husband, I told you, he went and picked her up from the hospital, that night because I was committed to Zooms that night. So when the hospital called, he went and got her. So, does he know the business? Absolutely. He sat through conference. He sits through Super Saturdays. We travel. I mean, he could sell a plan. He sold plan, but that's not his deal, And, when I learned what his place was in the business, I supported that. And his place is to support the house. So my husband does a lot of things that one might say is the woman's job, but we don't live in a world in our house like that. We don't, that's just not our house. So, but my husband supports whatever. My husband cooks, my husband cleans, my husband shops. He does everything. So if I'm building the business, if I'm on an accountability call at 9:30 at night, he doesn't come in here to question why I'm still on with these people at 11. I'm building the business. And so my first thing of respect is, being a married couple, the recognition, I'm big on that. So when you hear the recognition, it's always Sherranda and Jenkins Ivey because Jenkins plays a part in that. He might not sell a membership, but he plays a part in whatever we're being recognized for. So, and that's my way of letting Legal Shield know that he's present. But he also reaps the rewards. So we run the trip to Maui. Those are the things that I feel like I can give back to him. The trips and the bonuses and things like that. Even though if he didn't get a dime, he still would be there. But that's just my way. But he is supportive, but we learned what his role was in this. And that's to make sure that the house is fine. As long as the house is fine, I can build my business. I don't have to worry about nothing else. So that's it.
All right. So that this and I hope nobody mistakes that last question for being the most least important, because it wasn't. But some of you all, you're not building your business the way that you should because you can't figure out a way to build it energetically without your spouse showing up to everything. So I think you started your conversation, Sherranda, with probably the most important thing. Don't let the business dictate to you how you should be in your own household.
Right.
When you took them vows to get married, Legal Shield wasn't there. No disrespect to Legal Shield and the training from Legal Shield, but understand this: support from your spouse is not them showing up to all the events, right? So that's not support. Like Sherranda said, he didn't enroll in Legal Shield; she did. How many people take their spouse to work with them? Nobody does. So why your spouse need to come to every convention and Super Saturdays and all that? You don't take your spouse to work. Some of y'all wouldn't even want to take your spouse to work, right? So you're not taking your spouse to your job, but your spouse supposed to come to your business with you. That doesn't make a lot of sense. If they're willing to come, if y'all going on a trip together because y'all going to, an event in Atlanta for 3 days, well, you can make that a trip as a married couple or as a family. And that person still don't have to show up to the actual events. They can just be in Atlanta with you, and they could be with the kids going sightseeing while you're sitting in your sessions. There's other things that can be happening. You can make that a family event without tying your spouse down to a meeting about something that they're not interested in. So that's so important that you said that, because if you say I've got a meeting at 7 o'clock, like sometimes our briefings will be at in the evening at 7 o'clock, we are at a briefing. Well, your spouse can be a man and be at home washing the dishes. I don't know about y'all, but when I was raised, I had 2 sisters and a mom, and I washed dishes when I was growing up. So when I was growing up, it wasn't no girl task to wash dishes. I washed dishes in the house just like my sister took out trash. So men washing dishes, I don't know how old school some of y'all are on this call, but that's a thing. So if your spouse is running the business and bringing home the money, you better get your hands wet, right? It's like support means do what the other person can't do. Support don't mean I need to be everywhere you at. So sometimes you can run your business and say, hey, I've got this to take care of, and that person is taking care of that. Sometimes it's not good for us both to be in the same place because 2 things not getting taken care of. I can understand the situations where they're saying, I don't want you going out of town by yourself. Guess what? Take the family with you and let them hang out while you're doing your business, but they don't need to be sitting in the meetings with you. Don't require your people to be on Zooms and have them sit next to you for a 4-hour training when they don't even know what nobody's talking about. Right? Don't test your people that way. Your significant other like that. Don't challenge them like that to make them interested in something they're not interested in, because you wouldn't do it at your job. And I hope everybody understands that like clearly. Like what makes it healthy is you saying, I want you to support me, not support the business. Her husband doesn't have to support Legal Shield. He needs to support Sherranda. That's what we married. You guys follow that? So let's not get mistaken supporting this business, somebody supporting the business. That person is supposed to support your success in the business, not the business. They don't have any tie into Legal Shield. They don't have a commitment to Legal Shield. They don't have an obligation to Legal Shield. They have an obligation to the person that they made the vows out to. Does that make sense? So I want you guys to keep that in mind. And so cut down maybe on or change up some of your requirements for your significant other so that they don't feel like in order for them to support you, they have to show up with a suit and tie on at an event that you're going to when, no, you got friends in Legal Shield. Sit at the table with your friends and let your spouse go hang out somewhere. Let them enjoy Atlanta or Phoenix, Arizona or California or Maryland or wherever you guys are at. Let them enjoy that while you enjoy your event, and then y'all can hang out afterwards. Instead of letting people tell you that you don't have a supportive spouse because they're not sitting in every event with you. I got people on Legal Shield I've been in Legal Shield with for the whole 13 years, and I never seen their spouse. For those that know Darlene Quincy didn't show up to nothing with David Quincy. And now she's a millionaire club member in the business once he passed. She took that ring from 100K to 200K. She working all those groups, but she was focused on her career when he was doing all that kind of stuff, and she didn't show up to nothing. I don't even remember seeing her at a performance club trip.
She said that's what she showed up at.
That's what she showed up to.
She went to them. Yeah, she said she went to them.
So you guys follow that? So he was in 100K ring earner in the business, very significant in the Georgia market. a group. He was one of the masters of opening up schools and groups. His background as an educator. I worked with David Quincy before he passed. And David Quincy would be all over the place doing everything. And he talked about his wife and he talked about his kids, but she was never there because she had a full 1 and 6 figure career herself. And when he passed, she took over. That is support. She took over, she got into the family, and she doubled the income in that business and moved it to millionaire club status and all the things. And now she's on the stage doing having the conversations and doing all the things, right? So I'm just telling you guys, support doesn't necessarily have to be handhold. So I hope that helps out. So it's 9:29, Sherranda. I'm gonna turn it over to you. See if you got anything else to leave with us before we close out.
No, I just, again, I hope my story inspired people. I know because you don't see my story. I mean, it may be out there, but you don't hear it a lot from the stage. I try to be transparent because we need to hear that. We come in this business, and if you don't see people like you, people leave. Or they feel like they can't ever achieve whatever they are looking at on stage. And so I've always wanted to be that example for people. It's no secret. I mean, just a Southern girl got connected with network marketing. Now that I focus on the network marketing side, I mean, all I'm worried about over here is feeding my family. So I learned that on the business solution side, I was in control of that. And so that's why I focus on that. So, I mean, I just, like I said, and I didn't always focus on this division or whatever. I just decided that Legal Shield has so many divisions, I needed to focus. So whatever that focus is for you, focus on it, get good at it, become a student of it, learn it, and don't get, just don't, if you're going to focus, don't get, just stay in your lane until you learn it. And that's what I had to do. All this right now is just a product of being focused these past about 4 years or so. So, I don't let all the big incentives and things like that steer me out of my lane. You can get that same thing in the lane that you choose. You just got to know. So just whatever that looks like for you, this is just my path. It's working for me, and that's what I learned. If it's working for me, I just try to continue to make it better. So I hope that helps somebody. And again, I make my own decisions. I don't let the business dictate my life. And in the beginning, I did. You listen to everybody, and you just gotta create your own story. Just gotta figure this out yourself, because everybody got a story. You might not be hearing their true story. So just create your story. So don't let nobody do you like that.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So congratulations again for all the awards and all the time that you put in, and just being here every week, working with us on this call, plus holding the Thursday night call as well. Kelly Clark, you said there's no CDL field trainers in the Northeast. Sharon Holiday is sometimes up there. She's in the Northeast because she's in Virginia a lot of times. But also remember, a field trainer doesn't have to be where you're at. So there's only a couple of people who are a field trainer who actually do CDL. So just keep in mind, especially since the pandemic, like even more now, you truly don't need a CDL trainer to be where you're at, because you're not really walking in anything together. So it's not going to matter one way or another. So just reach out to a CDLP trainer, a field trainer, and then they'll help you via Zoom or phone or whatever the case may be. This is not something that you remember this. And I know y'all don't hear this a lot. Legal Shield is an online business. Don't fool yourself into thinking that it's not.
And I didn't get field trainer of the year by leaving this chair. I'm training people. I mean, we all can. We can train them everywhere.
That's a perfect example. Yeah. That's a perfect example. Sherranda is the #1 field trainer, and she ain't field training people in the city she at. And that's not where those people are coming from. They from other places. So you can certainly do that. Wanda Bell.
What is it? What field trainer? So that's a I'm trying to do English now. That's an adjective. So don't get filled like you got to be out. So
I like that.
adjective.
I like
That's an
that.
adjective. So people get it twisted.
No, that's good. I like that. I like that. Wanda, good question. I'm gonna drop a link in here, Wanda. So I did forget to call you, and that's my apologies, but that was good timing on your question because I'm doing the multiple inboxes this Wednesday for the Gmail on our pregame show deal. So anybody who hasn't been on our pregame, we're calling it a pregame. It's a free 5-week training for 45 minutes a week every Wednesday at 8:30. And Sherranda, you're on Thursday nights, right? Yeah, so I'm on Wednesday nights at 8:30 doing a pregame coaching session. Myself, Ariel, Simone, Sharon, Larry, and Harold Branch. And we're training on, each of us do 10 minutes in that 45 minutes. We did it last week. We had a really great training last week. This week we'll be doing it again. We're doing it for 5 weeks, all the way up until the 19th of May. So I just put the link in the chat. Click on that link, register for that, and then you'll get an email reminder for that. It's 8:30 Eastern. 8:30 Eastern on Wednesday, every Wednesday. It's 4 more left. We did one last week. So it is 4 more left. So just click on that link and you get in. But Wanda, to answer your question, this Wednesday, I'll be covering during my 10 minutes how to have multiple inboxes in Gmail so that you can send emails. You can organize your emails. So you can have an inbox for Legal Shield emails, an inbox for your personal emails, an inbox for label emails that you have of some sort or whatever the case may be. So I'll show you how to organize it and all that kind of stuff. And I'm gonna do that in 10 minutes. So thank you guys again for being on. Thank you guys who were on this past Saturday for the training. I just saw a post from Alan Roman saying that there was over 100 people on here. So congratulations to all you guys who heard Chris Seelig and Alan Roman train this past weekend. We'll have it posted when the next training is going to be coming. CDLP certification training. Don't forget about Sherranda Ivey's Thursday coming up here in 3 days. And we look forward to seeing you guys again next week. So we appreciate you all once again. You guys have a fantastic evening.